Lucifer versus Michael. Who will win? In the infinite realm of heaven, where eternal pillars of light intertwine with mysterious darkness, two great entities were born from the will of the Creator. Michael, the archangel, possesses the power of Demiurge, a stream of pure energy capable of creating from nothing. He stands there, with his brilliant white wings spread out like rays of sunlight, his body exuding a majestic and sturdy aura. Every movement of his carries a warm light, shining through the floating clouds, creating shimmering images like shattered crystals under the light. Lucifer, also known as Samuel, the entity with the power to shape will. He stands with a graceful appearance, his red eyes like smoldering hellfire, his long black hair fluttering in the heavenly wind, reflecting unlimited freedom and ambition. The heavens were a picture-perfect picture, golden palaces glittering under a deep blue sky, angels flying freely, and their songs echoing like an endless symphony. Michael, as the protector of creation, always held back his power to avoid harming it. He knew that Demiurge was like a nuclear bomb, capable of wiping out everything in the blink of an eye. Lucifer, on the other hand, always sought to shape that energy into new forms, from matter to blazing suns. He was not satisfied with stability. He craved change, reshaping his father's plan to his own will. One day, during the Council of Archangels, Gabriel, the messenger with the silver wings, entered the Great Hall. He brought a message from the Presence, the Supreme Creator. "The balance is threatened," Gabriel said, his voice echoing off the marble walls. Michael listened, his face showing concern, his deep blue eyes reflecting the images of the other angels gathered. Lucifer stood to one side, a half-smile appearing on his face, as if he had predicted the coming storm. Tension began to creep in. Lucifer felt his willpower rising, urging him to challenge the current order. Michael, being protective, tried to convince him, "Brothers, don't let ambition blind you. Demiurge is for creation, not destruction." But Lucifer just shook his head, his eyes flashing red, and he walked out of the hall, leaving the heavy atmosphere like a dark cloud covering the heavens. Lucifer did not stop at vague thoughts. He began to gather his fellow angels, beings who felt bound by the strict rules of heaven. In a secret cave at the foot of the Mountain of Light, where weak rays of light shone through the cracks of the rock, he persuaded them. "We can reshape the universe," he said, his voice deep but convincing, his hands waving in the air as if painting images of the future. The angels listened, their faces reflecting hesitation and excitement, the light from their wings flickering like candles in the wind. Michael, sensing the signs of unrest, decided to confront him. They met on the top of a high hill, where the wind howled through the ancient trees, golden leaves falling under their feet. Michael stood firm, the flaming sword in his hand flashing, reflecting his stern face. "Lucifer, you are leading us into darkness," he said, his voice full of emotion, his eyes filled with pain as he looked at his once close brother. Lucifer sneered, his black wings spread wide, partially blocking the sky. "Michael, you are too weak for that restraint. Your Demiurge could create new worlds, but you are afraid." The argument escalated into a small conflict. Lucifer swung his arm, a blast of willpower shooting out, shaping the air into invisible blades. Michael dodged, his Demiurge power flashing but quickly restrained. He did not want to harm him, so he only defended, his body moving gracefully like a dancer in a storm. Finally, Gabriel intervened, flying in at breakneck speed, silver wings cutting through the wind, stopping the duel before it became deadly. From then on, the heavens were divided. Sandalphon, a high-ranking angel with a cold face and ashen eyes, watched in silence. He, cunning by nature, saw an opportunity to overthrow Michael. In the shadows of the palace, Sandalphon whispered to his allies, plotting to stab the archangel in the back. The celestial sky, which had always been bright with eternal rays of light interwoven through the pure white clouds, suddenly darkened as if covered by an invisible hand. The golden palaces, with towering pillars that reached to the horizon, trembled under the pressure of the approaching storm. The angels, beings with wings that glittered like crystal in the sunlight, gathered in groups, their faces showing anxiety and determination. The air was heavy. The wind howled through the ancient trees on the Mountain of Light, carrying the strong smell of ozone from the forming lightning. Lucifer, the being with the power of will, stood on a tall rock, his crimson eyes scanning the crowd of rebels. His vast black wings spread out, partially blocking the sky, creating a long shadow on the ground. He wore a mysterious black cloak, his long hair fluttering in the wind, exuding a challenging authority. "Today we will reshape destiny," he declared, his deep voice echoing like thunder, causing his fellow angels to cheer, their wings vibrating in a wave of sparkling light. Michael, the archangel with the power of Demiurge, stood firmly beside Gabriel. He was tall, his body muscular and toned under a gleaming silver armor, his pure white wings spread out like the rays of the dawn's Sunday. The flaming sword in his hand flashed, reflecting his stern face, his deep blue eyes filled with anxiety. He knew his power could obliterate everything, like a nuclear bomb containing boundless creative energy, but his restrained nature made him hesitate. "We must protect the balance," he told Gabriel, his voice filled with emotion, his hand tightening on the hilt of his sword. Gabriel, the messenger with the silver wings as thin as silk, nodded, his face showing a fierce expression, his brown eyes sparkling under the remaining weak light. The great battle broke out suddenly, like a bomb exploding in midair. Lucifer rushed in first. He flew at a terrifying speed, his black wings cutting through the air with a sharp screech. He faced Gabriel directly, the two entities colliding like two shooting stars crashing into each other. Gabriel swung his silver sword, the blade flashing under the celestial moonlight, cutting through the space with a howling wind like a scream. Lucifer dodged skillfully, his willpower shaping the surrounding air into an invisible shield, counterattacking and causing Gabriel to retreat a few steps. Golden blood spurted from the scratch on Gabriel's wing. He gritted his teeth, his eyes flashed with anger, then charged forward to continue the fight. Around them, the rebel and loyal angels charged at each other. The clanging of metal echoed everywhere, the light from their wings casting long shadows on the cracked ground. Michael, in the center of the battlefield, faced a series of lower-level demons, distorted entities with black skin, red eyes that glinted like embers, sharp fangs flashing under the lightning. They charged at him like a pack of wild beasts, growling with hostility. Michael swung his sword, each strike precise and powerful, slicing their bodies into fragments of fading light. But he always held back, not releasing the entire demiurge, his face showing internal conflict, sweat rolling down his forehead. "I do not want to destroy," he whispered, breathing heavily, his white wings trembling slightly under the pressure. A demon rushed from above, sharp claws tearing the air. Michael dodged, but the shallow wound on his shoulder caused golden blood to flow out, staining the silver armor red. From behind, the cunning entity Sandalphon, with a cold face, ashen eyes full of intrigue, sneaked up like a ghost. He had been waiting for this moment, the dark sword in his hand flashing under the dim light. With a sudden stab, the blade pierced Michael's back. The sound of metal tearing flesh rang out horribly. Michael's eyes widened in surprise and pain, his body trembling, golden blood spurting out like a fountain, dyeing the ground red. He fell to one knee, the flaming sword falling from his hand rolling on the rocks. Sandalphon laughed triumphantly, his face twisted in evil joy, his eyes flashing with a vicious light. "You are too weak, Michael," he whispered, his voice full of contempt, then waved his hand to create a cage of dark energy, enveloping him like a trap with no way out. The cage glittered with black lightning, squeezing Michael's body, making him groan in pain, his white wings shrinking. Lucifer watched the scene from afar, in the middle of the fight with Gabriel. He did not intervene, only half smiling, his crimson eyes flashing with satisfaction. The battle with Gabriel continued fiercely. Gabriel rushed forward at a dizzying speed, the silver sword slashing down like lightning. Lucifer shaped the energy into a black sword blade. The collision created a resounding explosion. The shockwave spread out, pushing back the surrounding angels. Blood flowed from the wound on Lucifer's wing, but he did not flinch. His strong will helped him change the direction of the attack, causing Gabriel to stagger. Suddenly, the entire battlefield froze. Presence, the supreme creator, appeared as a giant entity, with a dazzling light covering the entire space. The white light spread, shining through every corner, causing the angels to cover their eyes from the glare. His voice echoed like thunder, shaking the entire heavens. "Stop! This chaos must end." The entity stopped, the air heavy as a stone pressing on their chests. The howling wind gradually quieted down. Lucifer retreated, his black wings retracted, his face showing a defiant yet calculating expression. Gabriel gasped, his silver sword lowered, his eyes looking at the imprisoned Michael. After the great battle, Michael was freed from the cage, but his deep wounds had weakened him visibly. He lay on the stone bed in the palace, his body trembling under the light bandages, his white wings now dull and limp. The physical and mental pain surged. He clenched his fists. Golden tears rolled down his cheeks, reflecting the faint light from the window. Lucifer, exiled from heaven, fell into hell, a kingdom of darkness covered with blazing fire, the strong smell of sulfur. He stood on the black stone throne, his red eyes scanning the demon allies, starting to build his own empire, his will shaping the darkness into mysterious palaces. Tensions still smolder, like a fire waiting to erupt again, while the heavens struggle to heal the deep rifts between sky and earth. The endless void, a black abyss where there were no stars or planets to anchor the light, only heavy silence and darkness that swallowed all hope. There was no wind, no sound, only the pounding heartbeats of the beings who dared to enter. Lucifer had chosen this place as his battlefield because he knew that here, no creature would have to witness destruction. He hovered in the void, his vast black wings spread like sails in an invisible storm, his long, tangled hair fluttering lightly with the energy of his own will. His crimson eyes glittered like two hellish stars, scanning the darkness, waiting. His mysterious black cloak fluttered, reflecting the faint rays of his inner power, creating long shadows in the void. He smiled, a confident half-smile, because he knew Michael would come not out of hatred, but out of brotherly love twisted into responsibility. Michael answered the silent call, soaring into the void with his brilliant white wings cutting through the darkness like blades of light. His body still bore the scars of the great battle, his silver armor now dull with deep scratches, dried golden blood streaking dark brown across his shoulders. His face was stern, his deep blue eyes tired but determined, his brows furrowed under his shining golden hair. The flaming sword in his hand glowed faintly, its flames dancing like a soul yearning to be freed. "Lucifer, what do you want in this place of death?" he asked, his voice echoing through the void, creating ripples of energy that spread like disturbed water. He stopped a few paces away, his body tense, ready for any attack. With a pained sigh, Michael nodded. He spread his wings, his body glowing white, as Demiurge exploded. A brilliant stream of energy erupted from his chest, like a massive explosion from the center of the universe, illuminating the pitch-black darkness. Pure white light swept through the void, creating the first twinkling stars, golden orbs of fire that hung suspended, dancing with scorching heat. Planets formed from nothing, huge masses of rock spinning, their surfaces glittering with metal and crystal, reflecting a new light. Air, or something resembling air, began to form, carrying the scent of fresh ozone and the whisper of cosmic winds. Lucifer stood there, his face illuminated by the new stars, his red eyes glowing with admiration and jealousy. He swung his arm, the force of will shaping the Demiurge energy into a giant sun, its core blazing red, its outer rim sparkling with blue plasma, the booming sound of his maniacal laughter mingling with the roar of the flames. But the moment of creation quickly turned to chaos. The real battle erupted as Lucifer charged, his black wings cutting through the newly created space at terrifying speeds. He swung his arm, his will shaping a dark blade from the remaining darkness, the long blade winding like a venomous snake, flashing with black lightning. Michael dodged, his flaming sword clashing, creating a terrifying metallic clang, the shockwave spreading out, pushing back the nearest stars, making them sway like fireballs blown by the wind. The Demiurge within him rose. He shot out a beam of white energy like a laser, tearing through space, leaving a black burn mark on Lucifer's arm. Black blood flowed from the wound, dripping into the void and dissolving into clouds of smoke. Lucifer roared, his face twisted in pain and anger, then countered by shaping Michael's blow into harmless fragments of light that fell like snowflakes. They collided repeatedly, their bodies entwined in the now starry void, their emotional growls echoing among the new stars. Michael punched him hard in the chest, Demiurge spreading from his fist in a small explosion, tearing Lucifer's black cloak apart and revealing his body scarred from previous battles. Lucifer responded by kicking him in the stomach, his will tightening like invisible ropes, causing Michael to cough up golden blood, his body arching in pain. They rolled through space, crashing into a newly formed planet, the rocky surface cracking under the pressure, debris flying everywhere like a meteor shower. Lucifer seized the moment, his will exploding, pushing Michael away with a blast of dark energy. He soared away, disappearing into the remaining darkness, leaving Michael lying on the surface of a cold planet, his body huddled under the glittering starry sky he himself had created. The stars twinkled mockingly, their light illuminating his wounded face, golden tears rolling down his cheeks, mixing with the blood. He lay there, breathing weakly, contemplating the power of repression, a curse of love and responsibility. The void was alive now, but his heart was an abyss darker than ever. Michael awoke on the surface of the new planet, his body aching as if crushed under the weight of his own power. The sky above him glittered with the stars he had created, golden light illuminating the gray stone, casting long shadows across the deep fissures. The thin air carried a cold metallic scent, and a breeze whispered through the crevices like the whispers of a lost soul. He sat up slowly, his limp white wings dragging along the ground, leaving a faint trail of light. The wound on his back from Sandalphon still throbbed, and new scratches from his battle with Lucifer were added red lacerations on his arms and chest. Golden blood dried into brittle scabs. His face was pale, his deep blue eyes now cloudy with exhaustion, his brows furrowed in a surge of inner pain. He clenched his fists, his nails digging into his palms until they bled, whispering, "Why? Why do I always hold back?" Suddenly, a figure appeared from the void, sweeping past like a cold wind. It was Death, a female entity with a long black cloak that reached to the ground, her pale face hidden under a hood, her soulless eyes glittering like two black holes that swallowed the light. She carried no scythe or weapon, just the presence of the end, a coldness spreading from her slender body, causing the nearest stars to flicker weakly. "You almost died, Michael," she said, her voice as light as the wind through dry leaves, emotionless but full of the weight of fate. She sat down beside him, her black cloak spreading like darkness on the rocky ground, her pale hands clasped together. Michael raised his head, his eyes wide with surprise, his breath quickening. "Death. Lucifer. Has he escaped you again? The dimension of thunder and lightning, a border between heaven and earth where the gray sky is always gloomy with rolling black clouds. Thunder strikes repeatedly on the cracked ground full of black burns. The air is heavy with the strong smell of ozone, and the roar echoes like the sound of a wild beast awakening. Blue lightning flashes illuminate the jagged giant rocks, creating a strange shadow on the ground. Lucifer chose this place to ambush. He stood on a high rocky hilltop, his black wings spread out to absorb the energy from the thunder, his long hair fluttering in the howling wind. The sword in his hand flashed a bright red, the blade undulating like a living snake, reflecting the lightning strikes nearby. His face was full of confidence. His red eyes scanned the horizon, waiting for Michael with a scheming half-smile. Michael flew in from the void, his white wings cutting through the black clouds like a scythe of light, his body now exuding a fiercer look than ever. The silver armor glinted under the lightning. The flaming sword in his hand burned fiercely, the red and yellow flames dancing in the reflection of his stern face, his deep blue eyes flashing with suppressed anger. "This time, you will not escape," he declared, his voice echoing over the thunder, landing on the ground with a crash that sent rubble flying. He no longer hesitated. The pain from the previous battle had tempered him, Demiurge seething in his chest like a river of fire ready to overflow. The battle broke out immediately, more intense than ever. Lucifer charged forward, sword swinging, cutting through the air with a sharp screech, the blade leaving a red trail like a slash of hell. Michael dodged, the flaming sword blocking the blow. The metal clashing exploded like artificial thunder, the shockwave spreading out, pushing back the surrounding rocks. He countered with Demiurge, releasing a beam of white energy that shot out like a laser, tearing through space and obliterating a group of Lucifer's allied demons who were sneaking up on him, their bodies disintegrating into black smoke, their screams echoing and then fading away. Lucifer roared, his face twisted in rage, his black wings flapping violently, creating a whirlwind that swept up hail from the clouds, hurling it towards Michael. The sharp stones hit his armor, creating clanging sounds and new scratches, yellow blood oozing from his shoulder. They rushed at each other like two storms colliding, their bodies entangled in a series of blows. Michael punched him hard in the chest, Demiurge spreading from his fist in a white explosion, tearing his black cloak and revealing an old wound on his skin. Lucifer responded with a sword sweep, the blade touching his wing, cutting a deep line that sent white feathers flying everywhere and blood spurting like a fountain. Michael's scream of pain mixed with the thunder. He staggered but did not fall, his eyes flashing with determination. "Finish it, Lucifer," he growled, swinging his flaming sword down, the flames spreading and scorching the air around him. Lucifer formed his will into a black shield, blocking the attack but was pushed back, his feet slipping on the rocky ground, leaving a long black burn trail. Michael was close to winning. Demiurge exploded with all his might once again. White light covered the entire dimension, erasing the dark clouds and illuminating his face covered in sweat and blood. But Lucifer, with his superior will, swung his sword one last time. The sword flashed brightly, creating a giant spatial rift, sucking Michael in like a black vortex. He flew through the void, his body spinning in pain, the howling wind drowning out his screams, then disappeared into the endless darkness. Lucifer stood there, panting, sword shaking in his hand, black blood dripping from the wound on his chest. He laughed loudly, the laughter echoing through the thunder, his red eyes glowing with temporary victory.